best kind of leaders raise their hand and say, I need help. Let me just say that one more time. The best kind of leaders are the ones who raise their hand and say they need help. And for some of us, it takes us a little bit longer to do that. And I think that's really hard. But the moment you do and you start recognizing, wow, the help that's come is really helping me, that's the game changer in your business. And it's hard. And I'm not sitting here saying this is some easy thing. I'm going into my 5th year of business. And I just got it in the past year or so around the importance of hiring help. So the key is recognizing that, yeah, we can still do this for the, next 5 years by yourself if you'd like. But the reality is being a really good leader is recognizing you can't do it all. You don't know it all. And that's why there are people who, as I say, that's not my lane, that's their lane, and they can come and help you. And I think that's the key when it comes to being an entrepreneur, is recognizing it's time to raise your hand.
How important are leadership skills when running your small business? They could make the difference between success and failure, says Paula Jenkins, founder and CEO of LFS Consulting. For secrets to improve your small business leadership skills, watch our full interview up next. A lot of small business owners, and particularly solopreneurs, they may not think of themselves as leaders because they're, they know their thing, they know their niche or whatever they're getting into. So I'm wondering, why is leadership important in small business? Like, why is it important for you to think about this initially?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, so often, because we don't think about it, we don't understand the correlation between our success and how to sustain our business. And that's where the leadership part comes in, is how you lead your business, how you lead the finances of your business, how you lead your social media. I think a lot of times we think of that leadership piece as a person, it's a team, it's a group, it's an organization. But the leadership piece is also just how you run the business, how you show up, how you lead your brand, how you lead your product or your service. So that leadership piece is critical because you do want to make sure that you show up in a way that's going to sustain your business and grow your business. So whether you have a team or not, that isn't the part that matters. What matters is you understand that how you lead, how you show up, that's the part, no matter what the size of the business, that's the part that matters.
Maybe we need a good definition then. Maybe we don't have a good definition. I mean, what would you say is a good definition of leadership?
Leadership is about influencing. That's what it's about. And whether that is influencing, you can call it guiding people, thoughts, whatever you want to call their actions, their behaviors. Leadership is truly about the influence that you have on someone, somebody, some team. That's really what it comes down to. We can have lots of other words that we can add in, but at the end of the day, you are influencing somebody, period. And so for me, my definition is leadership is influencing or guiding other people when it comes to their actions, when it comes to their behaviors. That to me is leadership.
When you think about leaders, maybe a lot of people have a vision in their head of what a leader is supposed to be like. Maybe they're supposed to be extroverted. Maybe they're supposed to be, have a strong personality. Maybe they're supposed to, have a loud voice. And people might think, well, I'm introverted. I'm kind of like, I'm a quiet person. I'm not the first person to speak up in a room and everything. Maybe that means I can't be a leader. Then we talk about there are different types and styles of leadership, aren't there?
Yes, there are.
What are some of those types and styles?
So here's what I'll say. I am not a person who says I have this complete list of, here's all the different styles. We can Google all types of lists. There's a list of 7, there's a list of 8, there's lots of lists. For me, what I will tell you is there are some simple ones that I think about. I call myself a servant leader. That to me is who I am. It's how I show up. And it's really important for me to show up as a servant leader. When I am leading, it is not about me. It is about others. It's about meeting people where they are. It is about really making sure that the work gets done, but it's never about me. Never has been about me. You also have other leaders where we talk about, it may be very transactional. And so what do I mean by that? It is all about, yes, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. And not necessarily about the caring piece or the other pieces that may be important to people, but it is about getting it done. And in some cases, you may need that. There's other styles where it's just like, look, I don't care how you all get it done, just get it done. And that's kind of the, hey, it's I don't need to be in all of your business. I don't need to get into all the details. I trust you enough to get it done. And there's lots of names for that as well, laissez-faire, those kinds of things. But there's the democratic leadership. There's all kinds. And so I will tell you, I have not spent the time to say, here's the 5 or the 8 or the 9 or the 10, because there's so many different kinds. I think the key is recognizing who you are and where you are. That's why I know, for me, I can say that I am absolutely a servant leader, because I know how I show up and what's important to me. And it doesn't mean it's the right, the best, or the worst. It is who I am and how I show up. But I also know how to change into different types of leadership styles when necessary.
I don't know if it's discovering the kind I am or if it's deciding what I want to be. How do I go about doing that? I mean, how do I go about figuring out what kind of leader I am?
So, one, it takes time. This is something where I will tell you, probably 10 years ago, even 15 years, I wouldn't have said I was a servant leader. I think it is the environment you're put in. I think it is the situation that you're put in, the people that you are leaving and leading, the people that are surrounding you, and what is needed. A lot of times, what we don't understand is, depending upon the situation, the environment, people's personalities, you have to show up in a different way. And that doesn't mean, again, I'm always talking about, it's not about good, bad, or indifferent. It is what is needed at the time. So sometimes you'll find out that you can be, and maybe you do need to be the, hey, hands-off leader, because that's what the group needs, and they do well in that. You may not necessarily be 100% comfortable with that, but that's what the group needs. You may need to be the person who is the very transactional type of person, because they absolutely need it in that environment. So the way you find out is, honestly, it's the experience that you have. It's the situations you're put in. It's also asking. A lot of times when we're leading people, too often we don't want to ask a question. I am really big on feedback, and I think it's really important to ask for it. I don't shy away from it. I've said for years, probably decades, if you don't tell me what I'm doing well, I may not continue doing it. If you don't tell me what I'm not doing so well, I might continue to do it. So part of it is also understanding what's working in the environment that you're leading, what's working for the people that you're leading. That is an important piece of leadership. And so how we find out who we are, we can ask. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing.
You also see, when you look up what are the elements of leadership, and people look at those lists and they say, gee, I don't have those personality types, or I'm worried I don't have those personality types. But do we really know? I mean, what are the qualities or elements or whatever? What are some of the things that might indicate that you're a good leader?
Well, here's what I will tell you. For me, everything begins and ends with communication. So when I immediately think about leadership, it is, honestly, we have to start with how we communicate. Now, some of us are really great communicators. Some of us have work to do, and some of us are not as good. I recognize that, but communication is key. How we communicate with our teams, with our people, with our investors, all that is important. That's one, to me, the most important element. But there's others. Yes, it's how you care. It's empathy. We have to be able to be empathetic. I'm also real big on emotional intelligence and understanding our self-awareness and self-regulation, our motivation, all those types of things. But I will always say it absolutely starts with how we communicate. And a lot of times I think we it's immediate that it's the verbal, how we communicate. The communication is all kinds of things. It's how we show up. It is how we talk. It is how we write. Think about all the times we write things and how we communicate to people. And sometimes our tone, even in writing, is not very kind. It is how our body language shows up and how we communicate, whether we're listening to somebody or not listening to somebody, how we care and show up for that person. So for me, a lot of what I do is I always talk about the top 3. I don't go into 4, 5, 6 because I can't remember all that. So my top 3 are, it's communication. It's that first element is how you communicate. It's that empathy, being empathetic, caring for the people that you are leading. There's nothing worse than somebody who knows that their leader doesn't care about them. We all have, I always, tell people, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. Everybody's not going to share their story with you, and that's okay. But if you get to know people, they might share their story. And when they do, you got to care. You got to be empathetic to whatever they're going through. And then that self-awareness, being aware of where you are. There's nothing worse when there's a leader who doesn't recognize they don't know everything.
I know that you left the corporate sector for to basically build your own business. And I think as small business owners, the one thing we never think about is the luxury we have often that we don't have it in the corporate world. You actually often are building the team you're going to lead.
So when you have your own business and you're going from what I'm going to call the solopreneur to now, wait a minute, I have a team of people. Every single person, as I've said, who's going to touch my business, I want to believe in it. They've got to believe in it. This cannot just be, oh, this is just a job. I need you to believe in what I'm doing, because if you don't, that's going to show up in how you serve not only me, but my clients, the public. That's going to be a problem. So it is important. And part of that is how we onboard people, how we find people. You may have to go through a few people. And that's probably the challenge. No, it's not probably. It is. It is the challenge as a small business owner of recognizing, okay, I have to go through a few people before I find the right person. And that's just part of, we all know in hiring anyway. But when it's, again, your baby, when it's your business, as an entrepreneur, you want to make sure that you're bringing in people, again, who care. You want to take the time, even though we know for a lot of times it's like, okay, I need somebody right now. But it's still, you got to take the time. Because again, they're accessing your information. They're going to be responsible for your brand. They're going to be responsible for putting processes and SOPs, all these things. So part of it is, you've got to take the time to hire the right person. And you've got to make sure that you are involved in that process. And not to say that you can't hire somebody, but you do want to be, especially in the beginning, you want to be part of that process. Because here's a unique opportunity to make sure you're bringing in the right people, or as close as possible, the right people in the beginning so they can grow with you.
You talked about the importance of getting feedback. When you're the leader, when you're the boss, sometimes people assume you don't want feedback, are afraid to give you free feedback. How do you let people know, I'm serious about this? I really, really want to know what you think. I really need to know. I don't have all the answers.
First of all, you have to, you can walk the walk, you got to talk the talk, right? I'll give an example of that. So many years ago, I was coming in as a new manager and I had 17 direct reports. And I recognized very quickly that the culture that they were used to was very different. The leadership was very different from who I was. And when I remember saying that exact thing, I believe in feedback, I can take it. As a new leader here, I want to make sure I'm understanding what's happening. I quickly could read the room and they were like, yeah, whatever. I knew that. I could tell immediately. So part of what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to do an exercise, answer 2 questions for me. And I sent an email out and I said, be as honest as you can. And I said, and I mean that. I said, I know you don't believe me, but I'm telling you, it was 2 questions. What am I doing well? What can I do better? Very easy. And this is probably within about 30 to 45 days of starting. I collated all of that data and I put 2 sheets of paper all together. On one sheet of paper, it had all the feedback together, what I was doing well. On the other, it had all the feedback given to me about what I could do better. I had a team meeting and I shared both of them. All of the feedback, the good and the bad. What am I doing well? Showed it to the team and they were like, I can't believe she's showing it. And then I put up the paper. What can I do better? And let's just say some of it wasn't very flattering, but that's okay. I meant what I said. I can take the feedback. And I will tell you in that moment, what happened with that team is, one, they trusted me and they believed me and they understood what she says she means. When I say I can take the feedback, I can take it so much that I will even share the feedback that you all gave me. And it was anonymous, right? And they were stunned by the fact that I shared all this feedback. But my point was, I get it. I'm new. You don't know me. You don't trust me. But when I say I believe in this, I believe in it. So if you're going to do this, you got to talk it and you got to walk it.
And that's it for another episode of Small Biz in 15. Thanks again to Paula Jenkins. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the show. And please leave a comment and let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future programs. For more small business news and tips, join us at smallbiztrends.com.